Hi, this is Danielle, the domestic scientist. In today's part 2 of my Christmas home tour, I'm going to show you guys how I decorated my open floor plan living room for Christmas. I'm going to talk about some of the great videos I watched this year in preparation for my home decor. I'm going to show you how I implemented design advice from Rebecca Robeson, Valentina from the House of Valentina, and also Garrett LeChic. You'll see how they influenced me to create this beautiful over-the-top glam Christmas decor. So let's get started. All right, so I'm starting off in my living room, and the first thing I did was I took out all the existing decor so I could start with a blank canvas. The other thing I did was I took down that large blue and white abstract painting that I previously had hanging over the fireplace, and I went back to my older piece, which is more of a grayscale print, because I think this piece is going to go with my color palette a little bit more. So now that I've set the stage, I'm ready to start decorating. So one of the things that I wanted to do in my living room is I wanted to create a sense of symmetry. I do have these large cutouts in my fireplace, and they are 3 feet by 3 feet. So they're very large and they can take a lot of decor. And instead of trying to come up with 6 unique decor designs, I decided to kind of follow the Rebecca Robeson advice and create symmetry. So I am going to create 3 distinct looks, and I'm going to repeat them on each side of the fireplace. So I also watched a really great video by Valentina from the House of Valentina, and she did a video earlier this year about the 10 worst mistakes that people make while decorating for Christmas. That video for me was really a game changer. One of the things that she said people do is that they just kind of put their decor up and they don't really think about how it works with the existing space. So this year I was more thoughtful about what I selected and kind of where it was going to go and kind of how it works with the style of my home. The other thing she said you should do is get a color palette for that year, and then only buy things that kind of work within that color palette. So I did work on a color palette that I think is going to work with my existing home decor and with the existing paint color. So earlier this year, I did do a whole series about painting my house Repose Gray by Sherwin-Williams. If you haven't seen those videos, I will post a link in the description and put up one of those info cards. All right, so another YouTuber that I really love, his name is Garrett LeChic, and he also did a Christmas decor advice video. One of the things he said you should do is you should create a Christmas color palette for your house in general, and that you can use that same color palette year after year, but you can kind of build upon it. So every year you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So I thought that was super helpful. So once I had listened to all these different YouTubers give their design advice, I went out to the store, I went to my local Hobby Lobby, and one of the first things I did was I bought a lot of faux greenery. I do have, a fairly large home, and I wanted to make sure I incorporated greenery in various elements of the home. So back to the House of Valentina. One of the things they said that people do wrong with their Christmas decorating is doing too much faux greenery. So I bought a lot of faux greenery. I do have a large space to decorate. So leave a comment in the box below and let me know if you think I did too much with the faux greenery. So I also did a video about my greenery that I purchased. If you haven't seen it, I'll put a link in the description and one of those cards up as well. But when I was shopping for greenery as one of the first things I was going to do, it really drove my color palette for this year. All right, so I am super excited about the decorating part. I've got a lot of great advice and some good tips from, great YouTubers that I've been watching for years. And I have a color palette. I made sure that when I went shopping, I only bought things that worked with my color palette. So now I'm ready to kind of put things together. So when it comes to my fireplace area, this is really like one of the focal points of the room. So for that first box, I'm going to just use some decorative gift boxes. I've had some of these for years, like the tall ones I've had for a couple of years, and I think they're really pretty, have a lot of glitter, but they are silver and gold. So it kind of works with like a mixed metal look to pair with all of my neutrals. All right, so for my second box, I am going to focus on Christmas tree cones. And I'm going to create kind of like a winter wonderland, but it's going to be really glam. And for my tree cones, I just primarily purchased them in gold and silver. So they're super versatile, and I'll be able to use these year after year as well. So I'm just going to play around with the configuration of where I want the different cones to be. And then, of course, I'm going to pop in a few of my glam reindeer that I found earlier this year as well. But to create this vignette, I didn't want to just put the tree cones in. I really wanted to create a scene. So I wedged in a couple of pieces of faux greenery, and I also put in some snow to cover the ground. So now I have this really gorgeous vignette. It's so pretty and it's really regal. One of the things I think that makes this look work is that I have a variety of heights. And as I mentioned, I have a 3-foot box. So I really wanted to use some of the tall trees to kind of bring your eye up. I wanted to add pops of greenery as well, so you are going to see some of those pre-decorated floral stems and branches. And then of course in the front I put some of the reindeer so they're front and center, and I think this just makes a beautiful scene that kind of tells a story. So for my bottom box, I kept it very simple. I put in a little bit of faux greenery with the flocked pine, and of course I put in a small cluster of poinsettias right in the middle. I popped in a couple of pieces of glitter fern, and of course I used my very tall lanterns in the back just to give it a little bit of height. So now let's talk about the fireplace mantle. I love the way the mantle came together. The first thing I did is I used a plain flocked pine garland, and then I sat one of my pre-decorated floral stems right on top of it to add fullness and some more decor. And this piece is really large and it has some other decorative elements in it. It's really great because it can sit right on top of this plain garland and it blends in very well, and it adds all of this glam. Now, what tip I got from Rebecca Robeson is to add ribbon to your garland to create more of a custom look and to kind of repeat the color story all around the home. I also added in these glitter ferns as well, just to add a little bit more glam on the other side of my garland. And so this 1/2 is really great. It's pre-done, and so I'm able to kind of duplicate this same effect on the other side of the fireplace. And that's one of the reasons why I love the floral stems that are pre-decorated. But right in the center between where my 2 pre-decorated floral stems meet, I put in my deep champagne poinsettia that I found at my local Hobby Lobby as well. And that kind of creates a centerpiece to the mantle decor, and I think it's really pretty. And of course on the end you see more of that pre-decorated floral stem. Now the garland is kind of asymmetrical, so the top can be a little bit sparse, and that's where I put in that matching floral stem that I found at my local Hobby Lobby. It matches my pre-decorated garland, and then I just popped in a piece of glitter fern just to kind of create a little bit more continuity. And again, if you want to see some of these pieces individually, you can check out my greenery video where I kind of show you all the deconstructed pieces that I laid out. All right, so now let's talk about the Christmas tree. This year I purchased a brand new Christmas tree from my local Home Depot, and I purchased it from the Home Decorators Collection. It is a 9-foot Fraser fir. It came pre-lit and also pre-flop. If you haven't already seen the video, I'll post the link in the description below because I did a full review and unboxing for my Christmas tree. I will say that I had so much fun decorating the Christmas tree, but it takes a lot of ornaments, and I still feel like there's more space for more ornaments. Now, when I wanted to stick with my color palette this year, I went in for some deep gray ornaments, and then I went in for some deep champagne / like mauve type ornaments that have that antique feel and that have like a mercury glass style finish. I did use poinsettias on my tree. I used the deep champagne poinsettias and the matching ribbon. Of course, I followed Rebecca Robeson's advice on that. And then I used my white and my green poinsettias on the tree as well. And that's going to add continuity all around the house. So if you haven't already seen part 1 of my home tour where I did my home office and dining room, you'll see all of those same poinsettias used in the dining room and home office. So when you look around the house, you can see continuity between the color palette and some of the same design schemes that you'll see all around the house. But the benefit is because I have an open floor plan home, each room has a distinct look, but they all look like they fit together. Now, one of the things I did learn about decorating with the pre-lit tree is if the lights are really warm, it can make the whole tree look really yellow, especially if the tree is flocked. So to combat the yellowness of the tree, I wanted to make sure I added in some deeper shaded ornaments. So I put in a lot of those gray ornaments. And for next year, I'm going to add some more deeper toned elements in as well, just so that I get that kind of antique look that I want. But I love the way everything came together, and I love the way it pairs with my artwork. All right, so now let's talk about the back of the room. In the back of my living room, I have a wet bar. Now, I mentioned earlier, I have an open floor plan home. So when you walk in the front door, I have an office, a dining room. It opens into my living room, and that bar area is very much a part of the open floor plan. So it's an area I don't want to neglect, but I use this area all the time, so I don't want it to be cluttered with decor. I put a simple small replica of my large Christmas tree right in front of my bar, and I put a little bit of garland greenery on my stairwell. I have this large piece of art and picture light that I installed on the backdrop of my bar. So when I decided to decorate the front, I wanted to make sure that the decor did not obstruct the view of my artwork. So I happened to find this gorgeous Glam Christmas tree from a company called Glitz and Glimmer, but it's really sheer so you can see the artwork and it's going to set right in front. The artwork also has some gold leaf detailing, so it's going to fit nicely with the color palette for the artwork. I created a very simple yet minimal vignette. This allows me to continue to use the bar on a daily basis. So throughout the day, my husband and I set things on the bar top that either are going upstairs or going into the basement. So the area is still very functional but is decorated. Now earlier this season, I did do a bar decoration video where I did an asymmetrical reindeer vignette on my bar. It was much bigger, larger and fuller. If you haven't seen that, I'll put a link to the description in the description below as well. But for this look, I'm keeping the bar decor very minimal. And when I'm standing behind the bar and I'm looking into my living room, I just love the way everything looks. All of the glam elements are just sparkling, including the chandelier. At certain times of the day, the chandelier casts little rainbows around the house. So it's really cool. All right, so here are my final thoughts about my home decor this year. I would not have been able to pull off a great look like this for my home if it were not for great YouTubers that share wonderful advice. People like Rebecca Robeson and Garrett LeChic, and also Valentina from the House of Valentina. Their videos are so informative to novice people like me, home decor enthusiasts who just love decorating for the love of it, but who just need a little help from time to time. One of the biggest things that I learned is that I really needed to think about my color palette. And in the past, I'd always just purchase things that I liked because they were pretty, but I wasn't always thinking about how it was going to work together. But because I have an open floor plan home, I really can't just do what I want and do different things room by room, because the living room, the office, the dining room, and the bar, they're all open to each other. So continuity is going to be so important to creating a high-end look. Because I had already painted my house Repose Gray by Sherwin-Williams, I selected a color palette this year that's very neutral. But what I liked about what Garrett LeChic said in particular is that you can always expand on your color palette as the years go by, and you can build on your home decor. So this year I bought a tree that I think is going to look nice with the garlands that I bought, and year by year I can take Rebecca Robeson's advice and I can continue to customize the garland as I go along. And I wanted to make sure that every element that I put in my house fit the actual house itself, instead of just transposing the decor and just making it fit or shoving it into a space where it doesn't go with everything else. So I'm very pleased with how my home is looking for Christmas, and I love the fact that I can always build in more pieces if I would like. I can go bigger with my bar decor. I can even do a second tree in my living room if I would like. I can add more colors to the color palette. I can consistently change out the decorative elements in my garland if I just want to do something different. So I love the fact that I've created a versatile look, but I have a great foundation that I can build on year by year. So I'm Danielle, the domestic scientist. I am so glad you joined me for today's home tour video. If you like what you saw today, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.